So, in the last session, I was mainly talking about Moon and Venus conjunction. So today we will be talking about Moon and Mars conjunction. So how this actually works, and what is the significance of Moon and Mars conjunction. So let us discuss on that. So there is a karakatva that is associated with each other planet. Like for example, when we have discussed the natural property of each of the planet, sun actually represents your father, moon actually your mother, your mind. Then Jupiter is considered to be Jeev Karak. There is a common statement that is Sthan Hani Karo Jeev. So Jeev is actually referred to Jupiter because it is considered to be the Jeev Karak. So Jeev Karak means if I'm considering that it's a horoscope of a man, then Jeev Karak means that the planet which actually gives you the strength of or the life. So that is considered to be
Jeev
Jeev Karak.
means
Jeev means
Jeev,
yeah.
soul or body? Jeev means soul or body?
Jeev here I would say so that is actually Jeev is actually associated with Jeevan. So I would say something which gives you life. So that is associated with Jeev. So in this case
Okay.
I cannot dissociate both of them because only when
Mhm.
you're alive and you are in a working condition, that only in that stage you will be called a Jeev. So I
Okay.
won't dissociate both of them at the moment. So that is called Jeev
Mhm.
Karak. And if I'm considering a chart of a female, then Venus would be the Jeev Karak. So this is actually the norms or the thing that was followed previously. So I've actually provided a book on Nadi astrology that is there in the Google Drive. So if you go through that entire book, you will actually understand that which are the karakats that are associated with each of the planet. For example, Saturn is Karam Karak. So it actually takes all your karmic debts or your karmic backlog that you have, that all you have acquired till now. So those are the thing that are there in Karam Karak. Now, for example, take Mars. So Mars is considered to be uh, Karak of your brothers and sisters, your siblings, your friends. So these are the things that are associated with Mars. And let's say Venus. So Venus actually associates with your spouse. So if it is a horoscope of a person, then Venus is actually your wife. So if I have to look at the horoscope of a person and I have to identify the qualities of his wife, then I would have to look at the Venus. So it is actually the seventh lord which plays the role, but at the same time I do really need to look at the Venus because each of the planet has its own energy. Apart from the lordship that it has in the horoscope, uh, the natural significance also plays a role. So when I'm talking about the conjunction, I'm mainly talking about today the karakatva that each of the planet has, and what would be the effect or the influence that they will have when they are actually in conjunction, or when they are having a mutual aspect with each other. Like I explained earlier, so if a planet is placed seventh from that planet directly opposite to each other, so they will be having a mutual aspect. So that mutual aspect will actually form a yoke that is quite equivalent to a conjunction having put together. So uh, let us discuss on that. So today we will be discussing moon and Mars. So like in previous class I said, if Venus and moon are together, especially in the woman's horoscope, so that will make a woman quite very good looking, very beautiful, and quite attractive. And I have also shown a example for that. So let us today take one more example and let us proceed with Moon and Mars. So Moon and Mars would be same synonym as of Moon and Venus, but that will be in men's horoscope. So what are the effects that you are expecting? So like I mentioned for the Moon and Venus, I have a similar analogy with Moon and Mars, and tell me what are the things that you would expect.
So I think the person would be very good looking, as you said last time.
Correct.
And also, Ankit, I wanted to ask you something. Like, have you seen any cases where
Mm-hmm.
the Moon and Venus conjunction
Mm-hmm.
in the horoscope of a man also,
Mm-hmm.
signifies the good looks of a person? Like, I was going through
Mm-hmm.
the horoscope of some celebrities, male
Mm-hmm.
celebrities. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I think I saw Hrithik Roshan's horoscope. So even in his horoscope, there is this conjunction, Moon and Venus conjunction.
Yeah, so I think
So have you seen those cases as well?
one thing for sure. So I think his in his chart, Moon and Venus are not sitting together. I think they are mutually aspecting each other. Correct. Uh,
Right, right. In the
right.
seventh, right.
Seventh, I think no, it's actually his what was his ascendant? Because last time when I've seen his chart, I remember I've seen his chart as mean lagn. So which
Okay,
lagn
I
did you?
don't exactly remember that.
So
I don't remember that. So I just searched for his horoscope. I clicked on the first link and I saw that this thing was there in his chart, the Moon and Venus thing.
yeah, so
Not sure about that. So,
yeah, one significance I can mention. So Venus actually represents the stree or the female or the spouse nature of the spouse. So, and if Moon is aspecting that, that means the quality of that Moon and Venus conjunction will be there in the spouse. So, one thing to be mentioned here that if a man is having a Moon and Venus conjunction or they are mutually aspecting each other, then chances are quite high that that person will have a spouse who will be quite fair or white skinned.
okay, okay,
So white skin, actually white color comes from moon, and if moon is associated with Venus, that means your spouse, then your spouse will be very good looking. So that is how you have to judge it. So moon and Venus conjunction are if you really need to understand that it has a major implication in some chart, then it should be for women's. For men it has a different
okay,
implication. It actually shows quality of your spouse. So for example, if a person has Venus associated with Jupiter, so that means the qualities of Jupiter will be there with Venus. That means his spouse will have more spiritual tendency or more spiritual nature, or will be a very good guider, or will be quite wise in nature. At the same time, I would say she could actually be the mentor of the person as well. So these are the
okay,
qualities that will be associated. And now let's say if it is associated with Saturn. So Saturn is mainly considered for something which is outer caste, because it is in the outer circle. So it is the most extreme planet that we know, that is considered in astrology after Jupiter. So at the most farthest end. So that person might belong to some outer caste. That person might belong to some other religion at all. And let's say even that, Saturn is also considered to be a planet which is quite old in nature, which is actually towards its last phase of its life. So if a person is having a Venus and Saturn conjunction, then it is quite likely that the person will have a very matured wife, or a wife which is quite aged in nature compared to his age. So those are the things also quite likely. So this is how the conjunction come into picture. So let's say now suppose if Sun is associated with Venus, so Sun and Venus conjunction is not considered to be good actually towards marriage, because
okay,
Sun actually represents your ego, and when ego comes into picture with your relationship, that is Venus, then mm, that is where somewhere you don't actually maintain your relationship or have trouble maintaining your relationship. So Sun
okay.
actually conjunct with Venus is not considered to be very good, but in a way that could
So
also,
Sun and Venus conjunction in a man, you're saying is not considered
yeah.
good
So
because for a man, the Venus specifies the spouse, and correspondingly, it would be Mars and Sun in the case of a woman, right?
Mars and Sun, no. Here I would say Mars and Sun are considered to be good for any of the. may it be for men or women, Mars and Sun will be very good.
Okay.
Why there is a specific reason for that? Because Mars is considered to be a Agni Tattva, and so for Sun. So when both of them are conjoined together, then that would mean that person is quite aggressive with his approach and it's quite focused. So he will put all his energy towards a particular direction. And also, Sun represent your father. So when Mars is associated with the Sun, that would actually show that his father or her father is quite aggressive in nature, and that aggressive nature that she is possessing, or the focused nature, or putting all his energy in a particular direction, that is actually inherited from his father or her father. So in a way, Mars
Okay.
and Sun conjunction would be good, but actually, when you consider for Sun and Venus, both have actually different characteristics at all. So let us consider Sun is someone like a very heated person, or a thing which has quite high temperature, and consider something Venus like something beautiful, a bouquet, or something quite glamorous. So egoistic and being something beautiful might not coexist together, or might have trouble coexisting. So in that case, this conjunction is not considered to be very good. But at the same time, as I said, you also need to look at the natural significance. So, Sun is considered to be someone from high caste, or for someone from a royal family, and Venus is considered to be your spouse. So, if Sun and Venus are placed together, it is also quite likely that your spouse could be from a better family, or a family which has a better reputation than yours. Why? Because Sun is associated with royal or something at a better standard. So, and also you have to need to look at the aspect. So if there is a yoke of Sun and Venus, and if it is aspected by some good planet, then it is quite likely. But if it is aspected by Saturn, then it is also likely that that your spouse might be from a good background, or a good I would say family or a clan, but at the same time she might be from from outer caste. So this thing
Okay.
also needs to
And
be,
this is applicable for both men and women.
yeah, both men and women.
Okay.
Mhm. So let us take Moon and Mars conjunction. So also it is good to have a question and answer session, because this will actually help me to answer most of the queries and doubts that people have, and also on the basis of what is the experience that I have. So on basis of that, I can answer these questions. So let us proceed. So this was the main significance of Mars and Moon. So Mars and Moon is in very famously in astrology is considered to be a Lakshmi yoga. So, but I consider that this yoga mainly makes a person quite attractive, more than Lakshmi yoga. So Lakshmi yoga is also aspect to it, because not all the person that I've seen with Mars and Moon and Mars conjunction are very attractive, though all of them, or 90% of them, are financially good. This thing I've seen, a person with Moon and Mars conjunction, I haven't seen him a miser or a person who is earning less. I've always seen these people earning more. But at the same time, when Moon and Mars conjunction is associated or formed or conjoined in a good house, a well placed position, then at that time, I see that the person has a very good physique as well. So let us go in depth and discuss and understand how it works. So this is actually chart of one of the leading person. He is a IIT graduate, and then he went on to IM, and then he did his masters. So he has done a lot of work in his life. So I like this chart a lot, because he has been a topper from the very beginning, and he has actually succeeded in all the ventures of his life, all the work that he has done. Very committed and very energetic, always ready to deliver. So, and personally I admire him a lot. So let us understand his chart as well. So as I said, Moon has a best placement in ascendant. In Lagna, if Moon is placed, then that person has mind under his control. And also Sun placed in the 10th house. So for most of the government officers or person who have achieved something very good in life from their own efforts, I have seen that Moon will be in ascendant and Sun will be in 10th house, or they will have uh, fourth and 10th relationship. So from Sun, if you count, this will be fourth house, and from Moon, if you count, it is 10th house. So fourth, 10th relationship would be there between Moon and Sun. In case if a person has achieved a good government job or something, if he has started from very basic level and gone to achieve something very great in life. For these people, I have found this combination, and also for some IS officers as well. For those I've seen their kundlis and birth chart. So for them, I've also seen this thing, Moon and Sun, at especially in both of them in Kendra, and they would be having in either four tenth relationship or 7 7. They would be either directly opposite to each other, or they would be 4 10 relationship with each other. So this thing I've found quite common in most of the ICE officers, and also some of the school toppers as well. I found this. So let us consider this now, Moon and Mars conjunction. So Mars is actually placed here in the Kendra, and it is placed in its own house. So this is actually one of the 5 Mahapurush yoga. So Mahapurush yoga is considered, so I have not discussed mainly about that, so let me give a brief actually example for that. So if a planet among Mars, Jupiter, hear me properly, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and then Mercury and Venus. So Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, Mercury, Venus. These 5 planets, when they are placed in the Kendra houses. So these are the 4 blocks that are called the Kendra houses, and when they are exalted or in their own sign, exalted or own sign, then the person is considered to have a Mahapurush yoga. Or Mahapurush yoga is not actually, you should take it literally that the person would be a Mahapurush, but you should consider that that person will have some very unique qualities, or a, a, a part of his quality would be so that is quite unique in nature, or would be more than any other person in the on an average scale, if you see. So here Mars is forming the Mahapurush yoga. That means the person would be very energetic. Mars placed in its own house and in the Kendra house, person would be very energetic, and also Mars is aspecting the ascendant. So that all his energy, so Mars is putting all his energy to the ascendant, or to the person himself. So this is again a good thing to have. And also Moon and Mars. So this person has earned a lot in his life. Is actually more than anything. And also when you look at other planets as well, so Jupiter is placed in its own house, Mercury placed in its own house, fifth Lord Saturn moving to ninth house, which is actually a very good house. So placement of fifth Lord in the ninth house is considered to be very good, and also it is considered to be very good for your higher education. And also see, I have said earlier that for engineering it is considered that it is your eighth lord which decide that whether you would be doing engineering or not. So for most of the engineers, I've seen that when their eighth lord is associated with fifth house, eighth lord with fifth house, then these people do engineering. So here, if you see that his eighth lord, which is Venus, is actually aspecting his fifth house. So that is the case. He did his engineering, and that too from IM. He always been always been a topper in his entire career, in his school life, in his college, in IMs, and also from the very beginning. He also was part of many extracurricular activities as well. So as you can see, Mars is his own house and forming Vuchak Yog. So this person will always have some extra energy to put some more effort. And talking about the physique, so as Mars is in a great position, this actually gives the person the extra stamina or that extra energy to work more towards his physique, his entire body posture. And if you look at the person personally, you'll feel that what a wonderful physique he has. So everything is in right place. His horoscope is such a beautiful horoscope. I would say, I'd just recommend wow. And also, when you uh, see a person who has graduated from IIT and IIM both at the same time, so you'd always have a good feeling or a good, you know, uh, put image about him in your mind. So actually, he is a very nice person, and at the same time, quite energetic and dutiful. So this was one of the case. Let us move to some other case as well. This chart is of one of my classmate. So again the same thing. Moon here is actually conjoined with Jupiter. So and it is expected by Mars. So again, Moon and Mars conjunction. So this person doesn't have a lot of money and is actually because he's not earning himself a lot, but yeah, he spends well. He actually has a quite good lifestyle. His expenses are good, and at the same time, he's quite good looking. And also, one thing I would say that people with the Moon and Mars conjunction or mutual aspect with each other, I've seen these people. They do have a relationship in their life. They at least have gone through some relationship in their life. It is quite hard to believe that they haven't had any relationship at all. Because for 10 cases, if you see, for out of them, 8 to 9 cases have definitely seen that they do had a relationship at some stage of their life. So even this person, when I saw his chart for the first time, the first time I told him that you must be having a relationship uh, because it is quite evident from your chart. So he actually denied them, but some days later he told me that I do have a relationship. I have been in a relationship for last 3 years. So this is how your chart speaks more than the person. So and also the same thing when you see here in his chart, he's actually so he did engineering with me, and when you look at his chart again, uh, eighth lord is actually considered to be the uh, house of engineering or something which is dealt with application oriented mind. So when eighth lord has a association with the fifth lord or fifth house, then the person is probably would do more good in engineering than any other stream. So look at here, fifth lord, eighth lord, both are Jupiter and he's placed in ascendant. So and Jupiter has a fifth aspect, as you must be knowing. Fifth, Jupiter is aspecting the fifth house. So again, the same combination comes into picture here as well. The eighth lord has a association or has an aspect towards fifth house.
So Ankit, the eighth lord, the Rashi in the eighth house is actually Pisces, right?
Yeah, Pisces. And
And
Lord
Pisces,
Jupiter.
the Lord is with, yes, okay,
Yeah. So actually, Venus is in
and that is
eighth.
placed in the ascendant. So that's why you're saying like that this person would be having an application based mind, right?
Correct, correct. So, simple thing is that your fifth house has to be associated with your eighth house. So here, both the lords are same, but at the same time, the lord of eighth house and the fifth house are aspecting fifth house as well. So anyway, the
Okay.
lord of eighth house, if it is deposited here, or if that is looking at aspecting this house, then it actually forms that yoga to pursue engineering. And also, if you see, Venus is in the sign of exaltation. So, luxury wise, he would be spending a lot towards his luxuries and his needs. So actually, he used to keep everything quite confidential, and that nature actually comes from your eighth house. So when you have a lifestyle, but you keep it confidential, and at the same time, people with Gaj Kesari, so Moon and Jupiter, when they are conjoined together, this is called to be a Gaj Kesari Yoga, and I have seen that, generally seen that these people actually keep most part of their life confidential, and they don't discuss their personal life with others. So, however close friends they might have, they don't indulge into discussing something personal. So, let me move to some other chart as well. And this is chart of one of my cousin. He is also an IITian. He actually uh, cracked IIT in 2007, and his IIT rank was 221, All India rank 221. He got into computer science at IIT Kharagpur, and he graduated in 2011. He got a very good job offer from
Hey Ankit,
yeah.
the screen hasn't refreshed. I think there is some network issue on your side because it's saying the
Okay,
organizer is experiencing some technical difficulties.
okay. So the slide number that you can see is
Your voice
16%.
is also breaking.
Okay. Uh, just a minute. So just a minute. So let me discuss on this chart again. So this is chart of one of my cousin. So as I said earlier, he did his ITJ. He cracked his ITJ with All India rank to the 221, and got into IIT Kharagpur with computer science as his subject, major subject. He passed out in 2011, and from there he joined, I think, Adobe. He got a very good job at Adobe. I think not Adobe, Oracle. Yeah, Oracle. He got the job at Oracle, and he started his career quite well. And currently is staying in Bangalore only. So again, a very good chart. So one more thing that I would point out here, that this person also has that this Moon and Mars yoga. This person also has a good physique, and also this person has learned karate. So when he was in his school or his secondary school, he actually learned karate, and he has a very nice physique as well. Uh, Nice height, well built physique, also quite intelligent. So let us look at this chart as well. So here, for engineering, as I said earlier, eighth house should be associated with your fifth house. Eighth house lord is Jupiter. Jupiter is placed in the ascendant, and it is aspecting the fifth house. First key point. Second key point is Saturn is deposited in eighth house. Saturn is considered to be the significator or the planet for in-depth analysis, learning something in-depth and making a sense out of those analysis, a deep dive analysis. So Saturn is actually placed in eighth house, and it is aspecting the fifth house. So from 10th aspect, as you would remember, Saturn has a 10th aspect, and it is aspecting the fifth house. So this is again one significator. One more thing, that among the all the houses, second house, fourth house, fifth house, ninth house, these houses are considered to be the houses of studies or higher education. Not higher education, but I would say, yeah, these are generally associated with studies. This is actually what you have learned. The first and the foremost primary learning that comes to you is from your second house. So as I said, second house is the house of speech, what you speak, and mainly what the knowledge that you have acquired so far is mainly interacting with people or having a conversation with others. So primary knowledge that comes to you is actually from second house. Fourth house is actually house. This is also associated with your mother. So, and also the primary level and the secondary level of education that you have acquired comes from fourth house. Fourth house is also house of your mind. So, how good is your fourth house actually decide that how good you will be in your studies, how good you can grasp things. So fourth house also needs to be good. Fifth house is actually house of your buddhi, your intelligence. So this is also considered to be house of your one of the primary houses, or you can say one of the prerequisite houses for your studies. And now the ninth house. Ninth house is considered to be the house of your higher education or higher learning, higher philosophy that you have. So something at quite higher level is that comes from ninth house. Eighth house is not associated with any studies, but here I would say eighth house as a significance of deep analysis. Any deep dive analysis or anything which you're making a judgment or making an analysis after having a detailed research comes from eighth house. So eighth house is the house of engineering, you can say, and if that is associated with your primary buddhi or your intelligence, then the person has an aptitude to actually, or actually that makes the person more fit for engineering. That that is what I've observed in my life. And also one thing that when eighth house is associated with your fifth house, I've generally seen that uh, when it comes to aptitude level quants or having a good aptitude like mathematics specifically, they're very good at numbers. So let us discuss on this chart. Jupiter, as I said, and Saturn, these two have a very good significance here, and also Moon and Mars. So as I said earlier, for relationship or love affairs, or your actually the crush that you have, fifth house is mainly seen. Moon is actually deposited here, and Mars is aspecting it. So for this person also, I said that you must be having some relationship, and it turned out that yeah, he had a relationship. So this thing completely matched. And also let us look at naturally what his chart says. So fourth house, fourth lord is placed in the fourth house only, and Sun is in a very good position. At the same time, Rahu in the 10th house is considered to be very good. This placement for Rahu is best among all the placements. So I considered 11th house and 10th house and also 6th house to be very good for Rahu. But yeah, when you look at the entire horoscope, you feel that all the things are in right place. Venus is in such a good position. Uh, and Venus is actually considered to be good if it is second house and 12th house. 12th house is considered to be house of your wear, your expenditure, your luxuries, and Venus being the lord of this luxuries and glamour that you have. So if it is placed in 12th house, that is the best placement for Venus to have, and also second house because it is considered to associated with wealth as well. So Venus in this house is also quite good. And then again Sun and Mercury together, so this is actually called Buddhaditya Yoga. So here Buddhaditya Yoga won't make much of the sense because Sun and Mercury are most of the time together, but the key thing here to look at is fourth lord and fifth lord are sitting together in Kendra. So this person will be have quite a high amount of intelligence. Lord of Buddhi and Lord of Vidya being together and forming such a good yoga, that is actually absolutely brilliant, I would say. So everything seemed absolutely correct in his chart. And also when he got into his, he got the results of IIT that was then he was going through the Dasha of Venus and, sorry, Rahu and Venus. Rahu the Mahadasha and Venus Antardasha. One thing I've noticed in most of the horoscopes that I've seen so far, when a person actually cracks a engineering entrance examination, he actually goes through two dashas. One is either he would have dasha of Venus or he would have dasha of Rahu. So, yes, I want asked you. So, are you from engineering background or some other background?
Yes, I'm from engineering background.
Okay, so just check your horoscope and let us, and if you can let us know some other day, it would be okay. But check, uh, at the time when you appeared for your engineering entrance examination, anything like IIT, JEE, or EEE, or any other state exam. So what was the dasha that you are
Right.
going through, and at the time of admission as well. So for most of them, I've seen that either Venus or Rahu would be there either in Antardasha or Mahadasha, in either of them. So Prabhakar, I
So
think,
I'm not really sure how to check that. I mean, how do I check whether, I mean, for a previous date, that if I have to go to that date and then check
so
what was going on at
there
that
are
time?
actually many things, many actually horse, I would say, softwares available online. So there is one site, Astro Sage. So you can go to that site. So I will give you link for that site also, and you can check there. So for previous date, uh, what dasha you were going through at that time, you can check that. So for Prabhakar,
Okay.
I know that he was going through the dasha of Saturn and Rahu. And when he joined his college, I think he was going through Rahu dasha, Rahu Antardasha. And for me personally, I'm also
No,
from
no.
engineering background. Yeah, Prabhakar.
Yeah, mine was Saturn Mahadasa, Saturn in Saturn,
Okay,
Saturn Mahadasa, Saturn Antardasa.
okay.
And before joining of the college,
Mhm.
Jupiter Mahadasa and Rahu in Antardasa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Rahu is there,
Hmm.
Rahu is
Yeah.
there.
Hmm.
After that, Saturn will come.
Yeah, 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 sure. So similar thing also I've seen from one of my friends as well. When he appeared for his engineering entrance examination, he was going through Jupiter Mahadasha. That was at the last phase, and Antar Dasha was for Rahu. So this trend I have seen
Hmm?
for almost everyone. Out of I think around 85 to 90% will have this combination, that either your Antardasha or Mahadasha will have at least one of them, Rahu or Venus. For me personal, me as well, I was going through Mars Mahadasha, Mangal Mahadasha, and the Antardasha was Venus. So I've personally applied this on my chart as well. On any other chart that I've seen, same thing I've seen so far. And specifically, very specifically for those who have done their engineering from a very good university or a very good college, for them it is, you can say, 95% applicable. Only for 5% or some 10%, I have not seen this. I don't know why. It has
Okay.
been an exception for them, but for most of them I've seen this works brilliant or works absolutely fine. So that is how astonished I was to see that how accurate this astrology is and how accurate these things are. This made me quite astonished at that moment. So let us move to another part. So good physique and a good build up body. So this is one more example that you could relate to. This is John Abraham, and this is his chart. So you all must be knowing him. All must be knowing about his personality. So I will not go in depth. So I will only talk about the horoscope that he has. So again, the same thing. This house is actually related with entertainment and entertainment related things, and Moon is placed there, and Mars. So you all know that he had a relationship, and so I will not talk about that. So you can relate to that. And also, when you see that his ascendant, Sun, Jupiter, Rahu. So when Sun is placed in the ascendant, that person actually makes a mark or stands out in a crowd. So if there is a crowd of 100, this person can be noticed well or far from uh, the crowd. So that is the kind of the personality or the place in the personality is there that the person with the sun in the ascendant has. And also, if a planet like Jupiter is also comes into picture, then that expands the nature or actually amplifies the effect. And when you see at the Venus, so he is also good at spending. So I also think that he has lots of bike. Uh, he's currently owing a football team. I think Kerala team he is owing. that football cup. Or
Yes.
yeah, so in a way, this is what I was trying to make, and this is what I was trying to explain, that how Mars and Moon conjunction, or that if they are having a mutual aspect, how it comes into picture and how it actually mm, gives it effect. So few more things that I want to cover today. So generally about conjunction. So Moon is considered to be the first planet that you need to see in the horoscope. Moon actually changes its nakshatra every day. So first planet that you need to pick out is Moon, and let's see if it is conjoined or aspected with any other planet or not. That is actually the first thing that a person see in other person, that how mentally fit, or how what is his mental strength. So first thing I would say, have a look at his moon, how it is placed. So few things that I need to discuss, that let's say if moon is conjoined with Mercury. So Mercury is actually a fast moving planet, and it is actually associated with speech. So people who are having moon and Mercury together, for these people, I've seen that they think very fast and they speak instantaneously on the spot. So someone like Kapil Sharma, you must have seen his shows. So I was actually looking at his chart, and I've seen that his Moon and Mercury were together, and both of them were eighth house. So, and he was quite good at picking the sentence, statement, and replying back. So he was good at very good at uh, on spot reply, or what would I say, that humor,
Sense of humor.
sense of humor, right? That sense of humor. So those things actually, and on spot timing that actually comes with Moon and Mercury. Let's say Moon with Venus. So Moon and Venus I have already explained, so I'm not going into that. Moon and Mars also something that I have explained. Moon and Jupiter. So Jupiter is actually considered to be the one of the most strongest planet, and I would say which has a maximum influence compared to other planets. So when Moon is associated with Jupiter, then mind is very stable. For these person I've seen, they have a very stable mindset, a very steady mindset. Uh, and also I won't say that these people always do good in life, and they have always been exactly or I would say righteousness is the synonym for this, but yeah, they what they do is quite steady in nature, so you can actually judge that what these people are thinking. But in case if moon doesn't have any planet associated with it, you might not understand that what this person is thinking. But for moon and Jupiter together, they have a steady set of thought process. And moon and Saturn is actually for deep dive analysis, anything which you have to make a deep dive and you need to understand. So people who are very good in research have this combination. But at the same time, too much thinking actually is injurious to your health or injurious to your mind. So this is actually not recommended. And for some of the people, some people actually claim that Moon and Saturn, when they are together, it is considered to be a wish yoga. So the reason it is said that wish, because this actually leads to recursive thinking, or thinking on the same thing again and again. So I've seen a horoscope of one of my colleague in office, and she had actually Moon and Saturn together. She was actually quite good looking. She was very good looking and very beautiful. But only problem she had in her horoscope was Moon and Saturn together, and she used to curse everyone now and then. Every now and then she used to curse. So from outside, on from the outer appearances, it looks like the person is very good, very sober, and very well behaved. But when you know in depth, you actually come across these traits, that these people actually keep on cursing others. So this is what something that I've noticed, that that actually making a deep dive into the horoscope actually shows you many more picture that you see on the surface level. So this was about moon. Venus, I would suggest with some other planets like let's say Venus with Mercury. Mercury is considered to be actually a planet for business. So when Venus is associated with Mercury, these people are very good at putting a lot of money or finance in their business and actually managing business very well. For most of the good businessmen who are actually able to make good use of all the money that they have, Venus and Mercury combination is very good for them. Now let's say uh, Venus and Mars. So Mars is actually aggressive in nature, and Venus is about relationship. So Mars and Venus, when it comes together, I've seen for most of these people they are quite aggressive in their relationship, and they also have a tendency to get into a relationship. Uh, I've seen chart of Salman Khan, and Salman Khan also has a conjunction of Mars and Venus. So he was always quite possessive and quite aggressive in his relationship. So this was just just about these two combination. So let's say with Jupiter. So Jupiter is actually having a moral sense, wisdom, uh, having a respect for others. So if Venus is associated with Jupiter, this person will be morally quite, or uh, you can say having a sexually quite moral. He will look at other genders with actually respect, not just as a with the feeling of lust, but as a respect or with the uh, specs of wisdom. Now, when it comes to Saturn, for Saturn, I think I've discussed Venus with Saturn will actually make the person a bit more pervert type because Saturn is something which is outside your circle, outside your normal thinking. And when Venus comes in to picture with Saturn, so these people are actually sexually pervert, I would say. They would actually think of something which is not genuinely accepted, even sexually. And also, like for example, if a person at 25 age is marrying someone of the age of 40, then that is considered to be a bit of taboo in the society or not considered to be quite mainstream. So this will actually type of give you a relationship which is not quite mainstream and which is not quite accepted in the society. So similarly for Mars, I would say Mars with other Mars and Saturn. One thing is there that Mars and Jupiter is a very good association. So aggressive nature plus your wisdom. So when you guide all your aggressive nature towards actually making the society around you quite wise and actually imparting every good thing to the society, it is actually a very good thing. And about Mars and Saturn, if I say Mars is all about aggression and everything, and Saturn is so both are malefic in nature. When both comes into picture, these people have very logical mindset, and these people think very fast. So what I call as devil's brain or devil's mind, shaitan ki buddhi. जो so these people will be thinking very fast, but at the same time, the direction of their thoughts will be in a different direction. And lastly, I would say Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn, for most of the cases, I've seen is a good
So
conjunction.
Ankit, your voice is breaking again. Not sure if
Okay.
it's just for me.
Okay. So till when you have heard me correctly? As I was discussing about Mars and Jupiter, so Mars and Jupiter is one of the good conjunction. Generally, it is good, and it is actually giving your wisdom, your knowledge to a right direction. And Jupiter Saturn is also considered to be quite good. So Jupiter is actually considered to be your luck, your wisdom, and Saturn is your karma karak. So karma and dharma both are when both come in hand, then that is considered to be a very good yoga. Most of the people consider to be this as a very good yoga. Even I consider this that having both together conjoined, having a mutual aspect is a very good yoga. So let me move to other things. So one last thing that I will discuss about today is actually relative positioning of moon and sun and the mental capacity that a person would have. So I was not aware of this, and I haven't find this in any astrology book that this yoga actually prevails or this actually has a such high significance. But as I have done so much research on so many horoscopes, I've seen this. So actually, what happens is people who are born near to Purnima, their mental capacity or their ability to absorb things are quite high compared to person who are born near Amavasya or no moon. So this actually I tried in my class. So in my class in engineering, there were the strength was around 36, and out of that 36 students, I've taken a chart of top 10 students there, and I tried to find out what is the common pattern that these people have, why they have been at the top or have been performing so good and so effortlessly. So I tried to have a deep dive on that, and I did that not only for my batch but also for other batch as well. So one thing that I found common in all of them, that was out of 10 top 10 students that were there in my class, 8 of them had their birth near to full moon, and I was quite surprised, quite astonished that generally having born near full moon is chances are 1 out of 28. So if you see that there are 28 nakshatras, 27 nakshatras. So getting born on a specific day with a special alignment with the sun is quite less. Chances are quite less. But these people were so these people were abundantly available when I took the sample from first 10 top 10 students of the class. So let's say this chart. So let's say if sun is placed here, then for birth of Purnima or full moon, moon has to be placed here. And if it is Amavasya and sun is placed here, then moon has to be placed here for Amavasya, because both will be in the same Rashi. So the same thing. Uh, I have seen chart of 10 students, and 8 of them had birth near full moon. So this was quite astonishing, and this actually research you won't find in any of the astrology books. So let me explain that how it actually worked. So this is chart of the class topper that we had. So this person actually did his he appeared for IIT JEE entrance examination in 2010, and he actually passed out from ISC. So 10 from ICSE and 12 from ISC. And ISC he was all India topper. I think all India he came second. So the same pattern that you can see, sun is in 10th house and moon is exactly opposite to it. So this tithi I won't say is exactly Purnima. It is quite near to Purnima. So if sun is near or that your tithi, born tithi is near to Purnima, in that case these people are quite good at studies, or they are actually very good at absorbing things. So your mental capacity actually depends upon the position of moon relative to sun. Second thing, that fourth house, as I said earlier, is considered to be the house of your education. And when moon is associated with your education or the house of your education, then your mindset or your mental direction is towards gaining more and more knowledge and towards more and more studies. So he was a kind of bookworm, and he was not actually uh, more inclined towards having a general knowledge or a general aspect, but he was quite kind of bookworm. He always used to study, keep studying. And but another thing I would mention, that he was actually quite good at grasping things as well. He would understand things at one go. So this is actually because of moon being placed here. and moon being opposite to sun actually gives moon a lot of strength. And also same thing you can mention here, you can see here, Mars and moon thing. So what happened is he was actually very good in studies. He passed out in 2014, and after that he got a job at Mu Sigma. He worked there for around 1.5 year or 1 year, and after that he got into ZS Associate, one of the company in Gurgaon, and he moved to Gurgaon, and there he was then currently earning, not currently, 2 years back I think he was earning some, he had some package of 12 lakhs. So Moon and Mars is actually good for your uh, earning as well. And at the same time, when I said you that Moon and Mars also gives you a lot of relationship. So even for him, I didn't know when I saw his chart that he had a relationship or not. But it is evident that Moon and Mars or aspect is there. So I was quite sure that he must be having something. So actually, he had one. So coming from the perspective of studies. So this is one of the best thing that I've seen so far. That if Moon is exactly opposite to Sun, and Moon is placed in second house, fourth house, fifth house, and ninth house, and Sun is exactly opposite to it, or if the birth time is the tithi is near to full moon, then that is best suited for being good in studies. So this is one of the topper. So among 36 students, he was the topper. Let me move to other charts as well. So this is also, he was also one of the topper. He was actually not a bookworm. He was actually quite good at application. He used to study very less, and he used to actually perform brilliantly. And his efficiency was way more than anyone. I haven't seen anyone as efficient as him. So here you can see the same trend. Sun is exactly opposite to Moon, and this gives Moon the highest capacity to work with. And also, when I saw this chart for the first time, I did not see this chart to be good for engineering. Why? Because as you know, eighth house has to be associated with fifth house, but I don't see any such association over here. Yeah, so because I will come to your doubt later, so let me go through the chart. I will address that as well. So here I did not find any association with fifth house and eighth house. So I was first thinking that this chart belongs to a person who must be a CA, or who must be an accountant or something like that. But it doesn't suit, doesn't actually belongs to an engineer at all. I didn't find any clue for him to be an engineer. But then I analyzed the chart very well and understood that his chart is so good and his mind is so sharp that he could do anything in the world. And grasping anything, understanding anything, and having and making an application for that is very easy for this person. So he also passed out with us in 2014, and he got job at Google. And since 2015, I think he moved to US, and since then he's there in US only till now, and he hasn't returned home. So maybe for a vacation he would be returning, but as of now he is working there, and he was the person who got the best job offer from the campus from Google, and I think he utilized the most. So at that time he was actually preparing for CAT as well, but having got such a good job, he dropped the idea for higher studies then. So one more thing that, as I mentioned, Mars and Venus together makes you very aggressive when it comes to relationship. So he actually had some relationship, but at the same time, how aggressive he was with that, I'm not sure. But yeah, the yoga is there.
So Ankit, what all are the factors in this chart that you were saying that they are like gives him a sharp mind and that he could like probably
Okay,
succeed in any field that he would go
okay,
for.
okay. So
So
yeah,
can you just explain
so
the
so
other
first,
things?
first thing that comes into my mind is Moon placed in fifth house. So fifth house is house for intelligence. So
Yeah,
you guide your
right.
actually all your mindset towards having a better intelligence. First thing. Second thing, the capacity of mind is higher because he was born near full moon. This. Third thing, having a Buddha-Aditya Yoga or Sun and Mercury conjunction in the 11th house. So 11th house is actually the house of gain. So if this combination is actually associated with 11th house, then it is considered to be very good. One more key point is there, which uh, I would say that any person who is having his fifth lord with 11th in 11th house or with associated with 11th house, the intelligence will multiply actually. So 11th house is for gain, which actually amplifies anything in your life. And if fifth house, your intelligence, lord of that house, is associated with 11th house, then your I would say your intelligence would also multiply. So these were the basic things.
Okay.
So these were the only basic things. No other planet had made such a great impact. So actually, other planets are also signifying very well because Mars is in 10th house. As I said earlier, Mars gives very good results in 10th house. The person is very energetic and he put all his energy towards committing and completing the work. So all other planets are also in good position, but at the same time, the key factor that actually made that happen was this lord and this fifth lord going to 11th house. So okay, yes, I'm think. Okay. Yeah, so there was some background noise from your end. So thanks that you have gone on mute. This is again one of my friend. He is actually so he's not actually born near Purnima, but not on the Tithi of Purnima, but yeah, somewhat near to Purnima. He was also on top tens. He actually passed out with us in 2014 only, and he has moved to Australia. So for 2 years, he was actually researching in VLSI and robotics. He was working with, and there he did his MS. I completed that. So actually, what happened is his Venus Dasha started when he actually moved from India to Australia, and that was the turning point in his life. And for entire Venus Dasha, he will be out. So that is what I have predicted for him. So let us see his chart as well. So as I said, Moon is the actually significator of grasping anything. If your mind is steady, you can do that. So Moon is actually placed in ninth house, which is for higher studies, conjoined with Jupiter. Jupiter here actually gives the mind, makes the mind quite steady, and also it is, uh, I would say, close to Purnima. Not too close, but yeah, somewhat close to Purnima. And actually, this will have a better impact on his mind because the mental capacity would be higher if it is near to Purnima. So these are the things that also contributed towards his success as well. Having a better mindset or having a better inclination for that or having the capacity to actually absorb uh, actually makes the person capable of succeeding quite easily and effortlessly. So this is what I noticed. So let us move to one more example and see.
So Ankit, have you also analyzed some chart where a person was born near Amavasya and they were having like difficult, or probably they took some more time in absorbing things?
Uh, yeah, so I've seen that. So not many, but yeah, I've seen that. I can discuss that in a different class, but today let us only do that for Purnima. So, because I have pointed out for specifically for this, because people are more inclined towards knowing that whether we will succeed or we will do good in studies or not. So, I thought of taking that the positive aspect first, and let us work on that Amavasya part. So, Amavasya also has an impact, and people who are born, I won't say generally they do bad in studies, but yeah, that capacity of absorbing is less. They are more impulsive. They actually tend to react more than tend to absorb. They actually keep on replying back. So that is their tendency, their natural tendency, and which actually makes them more open to learn new things. So that is the key drawback, that having moon and sun together. I'm not saying that that is the only deciding factor, but yeah, it actually it is actually a drawback. So it is actually a negative point when it comes to having your potential, deciding your potential. So it actually lowers your potential from one aspect. So this person is also one of the he was actually his batch topper. So he also did his engineering, I think, from 2006 to 2010 batch. Uh, Previously, he was not so good in his studies, but and you can see Moon and Sun are not associated with the houses of studies. But when you look deep into this chart, you'd analyze that again he was born near to Purnima, first and foremost thing. And also, as he has not done his engineering from one of the great or one of the better institutes of India. The reason being that Sun and Moon were not associated with House of Studies. But again, even after having a good capacity or an open mind, which is actually there when you're born near Purnima, even even if you don't get a chance to get into a good college, you can actually improve later on in your life. So that is what this person did. He actually uh, he did not get into a very good college. It was private, and actually that college was recently set up, and what was that wasn't recognized at all. Nobody knew about that college at all, and it was in some rural area of India, some rural part. Uh, so. Uh, so actually, he got into that college, but there he performed very well. He was batch topper, and throughout all the 4 years, he has been the topper. And recently, he got a very good job as well. So, one thing is for sure: when you have an open mind and you have the capacity to absorb things, things actually turn out good in your life. So that is a good thing that I've seen with people who have birth near Purnima. So this is one of the chart again. He was also one of the batch toppers. He was from my batch only, and again the same thing. Born near Purnima. So he was, so his entire ranking was second for entire 4 years. His rank was also good in the entrance exam. Same thing, same trend.
Ankit,
Yeah,
Ankit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Prabhakar.
Yeah. Now I'm leaving.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
No, no issues. Okay, we will wrap up soon. No issues for that. You won't miss much. Uh, Anyway, if you want to leave earlier,
Okay.
it's okay. So I've almost completed. I will take only 5, 6 minutes more.
Okay. Okay.
So so again the same thing as you can see, and also here one of the key things here is uh, moon and sun. So moon is associated with the house of studies. Like in the previous chart, the first chart when where I've shown you, ISC topper. So his moon was also associated with the house of studies, and sun was in 10th house. Similar thing you can see here as well. Moon is associated with house of studies and Sun is in 10th house. So that capacity of mind to absorb things will be quite high. And other factors are also there that are also good. So, but keeping studies in perspective, this is a very good chart actually. And he is also among one of my batchmates, and he then got into IIT Madras. He did very well in GATE. I think he got some All India rank within 200, and he got into IIT Madras. And recently he's passed out, and he's actually working with Texas Instruments now. So again, the same thing. Moon is in the house of education, and Sun is exactly opposite to it. Born near Purnima, and Moon is in the house of studies. Similar thing. So this is what I all had for today, to just make a point that what are the things that decide that what would be your mental capacity, and how good and how open you would be to actually absorb things. And so this is mainly the trend that I've seen. People born near Purnima will be more open to things around or new things that come to them, and people who are born near to Amavasya will actually be very rigid, will be very impulsive, and will react on every petty thing. So, anything and any doubt, let me. So, I think you have some questions, so let me address that. Uh, Actually, the houses and the planetary alignment that you are born with is actually uh, indication of your past karma or your karmic debts or the karmic backlogs that you have acquired so far. So yeah, it is actually a significant. For example, if I see this chart, all the good yoga or the bad yoga or the combination of all of them or the personality that the person has acquired is actually due to the uh, karmic backlog that he had so far, and that actually manifests in this life as your birth chart or the personality that you acquire. So yeah, these houses and the yoga that they are forming, all the stars and planets that they are forming, they do have an impact on their karma.
Ankit, I mean, perhaps I should rephrase my question. I
Mhm.
mean, my question was more towards so these houses and planetary positions are for framing the Lagna chart for a person, isn't it? So it is
Mhm.
with respect to a person. But the same
Mhm.
Jyotish can also be applied or is
Mhm.
also been utilized
Mhm.
for identifying, okay, what is
Mhm.
during the Vedic karmas. I mean, for example, Upasana or even Yajna, I mean, identifying even the Vedic yajnas,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
they do calculate what is the right time, auspicious
Mhm.
time, position
Mhm.
uh, before doing a yajna.
Mhm.
There, the calculations might be different because it is not with reference to a person, but
Mhm.
it is reference to a
Mhm.
puja or a yajna.
Mhm.
So in that situation,
Mhm.
how would the calculations be based on? So that was my question.
So see,
What is important there?
see, uh, a few things that I have mentioned. So first of all, you have asked about that planetary alignments and uh, I think planetary alignments during that is performed during an yajna. So yeah, so that is actually a deeper research thing, and that is something that I have not researched so far. I have not had a such a good exposure on this. That what should be the planetary alignment for a specific yajna. I've only taken it
Okay.
from the perspective of a native's horoscope. What are the planetary alignment
Okay.
he's having, and what would be the impact that we face in his life? So, from that perspective, I can say. specifically for any yajna or performing any event or any specific thing, uh, that has a different implication or a different aspect to it. But if you say that for a specific reason or for a specific yajna, I'm completely not sure that um, what actually things that they look for to actually decide that these are the things, or this is the tithi that we will be performing this yajna.
Hmm. Okay.
But yeah, there are some stars, and actually, if you go deep into the shastras and text, it is actually mentioned that there are few nakshatras or a few of the rashis which will have a greater impact when you perform that your yajna in so and so time and so and so planetary alignments. But
Yes.
again, having said that,
On my
I've not practically actually experienced it, because whatever I've explained or shared so far, like for example, these all charts that I've shared, which is all from my practical experience that I have seen so far, or the case studies that I have uh, practically seen or actually coordinated with. So this is all that I've shown. There's nothing bookish about it. There's no
Yes.
text related to it. So, and regarding the question that you have asked, I don't have any my practical exposure on those. So I think it won't be much
Based on
appropriate
my
if I.
understanding, as per what I've understood, is the Vedanga, which
Mhm.
is Jyotish, was primarily born as one of the main branches
Mhm.
to do the Vedic kramas. I mean, that was
Okay.
how I believe it was born. That
Okay.
is the significance of the Vedic kramas. I don't know whether applying these Jyotish for an individual was
Mhm.
a later phenomena or was
Mhm.
it there in the past years. But the primary driving factor was
Mhm.
in the Vedic era.
Mhm.
Okay, how do you apply Jyotish? Why is it important to identify a planetary position
Mhm.
for a Vedic yajna?
Mhm. Okay.
I think that is how it was born. So my question was going back to the Vedic era, how it was used and how it can be applied. So that was my question.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah. So Ved actually mentioned about these alignments, but uh, as I said earlier, I have not made a mm, deep dive into these concepts.
No problem.
So
No
one
problem.
thing
I was
that
just
I can mention that even in Valmiki Ramayana, which comes quite later, so there has been instances where Rishi Valmiki has mentioned a lot of planetary alignments, starting from birth of Lord Ram and going till the winning the Yuddha with Ravan.
mm,
So for the
mm,
entire Ramayana story, he has mentioned planetary alignments in between, and he has also mentioned that what is the actually importance of so and so planetary alignments. For example, he mentions that for Dhritarashtra, actually for uh, Lord Ram's father, uh,
mm,
Dashrath. So he mentioned that for Dashrath, Dashrath actually had the nakshatra of Revati, and during the time when Dashrath was about to die, during that time he was actually going through. He was so actually Ketu was transiting over his nakshatra, Revati nakshatra, and at the same time Sun and Mars are also conjoined with them. So the astrologers at that time actually predicted that when Sun is conjoined with Mars and also with Ketu, there could be some fatal harm, or there could be some harm to the kingdom, and also to the specifically to the king, because Sun is actually involved here. So when Sun is afflicted or Sun is involved in such yoga, there could be fatal harm to the king. And for that reason, it was suggested by all the priests there, all the Jyotish, that we should declare Ram as the king as soon as possible, so that Ram can carry forward from here. And at the same time, Lord Ram becomes a part of a political conspiracy, becomes victim there. So that is what has happened, and that lead to Dashrath's death. So These things has been mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. So this is one instance that I've mentioned. There are also many instances that has been mentioned. So if you
Yeah.
take that as a reference, you can understand that even during the time of Ramayana, that practice of
Mhm.
Jyotish was still there.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
So anything apart from this, if you want to ask,
So I have a question, Ankit.
yeah.
Um, so you mentioned about the conjunction of various different planets,
Mhm.
but I think you didn't mention about the conjunction of Rahu and Ketu with all the other planets,
Yeah, yeah.
which all are good and which all are bad. Can you just touch upon that if possible?
Yeah, yeah. So conjunction with Rahu is actually bad with anything. Any planet, if it is conjoined with, it is actually bad. So it has a negative effect on any other conjunction. So, for example, if I am saying with Moon, if Rahu specifically, Ketu doesn't have larger impact, but Rahu has a more impact compared to other planets. So let me consider for Rahu. If Rahu is conjoined with Moon, then the person will have a very wavy mind and won't stick to what he has said, or will actually change track in his life. So this that steadiness of mind won't be there. If it is associated with Venus, so Rahu is actually considered someone of outer caste or someone from foreign. So if Rahu is associated with Venus, then chances are high that this person will have a affair or a relationship with someone from someone outside his society, or let's say uh, outside of his social circle. That Rahu with Mercury might actually lead to kubuddhi, or you can say it's actually fatal for Mercury as well. So Rahu associated with any planet is actually bad. Let's say Rahu associated with Sun is actually bad for your father. This might actually also lead to some genetic issues. So most of the astrologers might term it as Pitradosh. So Pitradosh is nothing but
Okay.
if you're actually inheriting some dosh or some genetic diseases from your father or mother, that I consider to be in present day what you can term as Pitradosh in chart. So astrologers mainly suggest you to go do these and that puja, but uh, the practical purpose of the practically, if you like to see that what is actually a Pitradosh is that it is actually something inheriting a disease from your parents. Mars and Rahu is also bad. That makes you very aggressive and uncontrolled aggression. This Mars and Rahu also leads to some accidents as well. So people with Mars and Rahu conjunction are also prone to accidents. Rahu and Jupiter is considered to be a Guru Chandal Yoga. This is very famous among many astrologers. Uh, so this is Guru. So Jupiter is Guru and Rahu is Chandal. So Guru Chandal Yoga is again considered to be very bad. So this leads to money laundering issues, or actually non-recovery of your investment. So if you have invested money at some stage or somewhere, so chances are quite high that you might not recover all your money if you have Rahu and Jupiter together. Rahu Shani, so many people have seen so far. So people having Rahu and Shani conjunction are more prone to cancer. So Rahu associated with any planet is bad. So it is ideal that if a person is having Rahu alone is in his horoscope. So these are the general things that I've mentioned, not specifically that these are the things that will definitely happen, but at the same time, uh, having Rahu conjoined with any other planet is actually not good for that planet.
Ankit, I mean, you mentioned about, I mean, these conjoints, right? I mean, in relation to this, I had a question. Many people, when they say, you have a dosh and
Mhm.
you do this, you do that, and the effect of that puja or whatever they do to have an impact on dosh.
Mhm.
Does it actually work from a dosh standpoint, or is it something that you are karmically destined to undergo, or does it have any impact?
Uh, See, most of the thing. I have also interacted with many of the astrologers, and I have asked them that does this work. So what most answer that I get from them is that you won't get away with all your karmic backlog or all your karmic debt that you have acquired so far, but it might reduce to some extent. So specifically, if I'm saying, even they are not sure that what impact it is going to make if I do this puja or do this sadhana. But now, for their purpose, they say that please do something that it might actually, you get away with all your karmic backlogs. So, for my personal feeling is that your karmic backlog doesn't get away just by doing a puja. You have to go through certain reward and
Hmm.
punishment cycle that you have. So, according to your karmic backlog. So these things that you have to go through,
Okay.
it could be possible that it might make a certain impact. I would say 5 to 10% impact it might make. I cannot deny it completely, but again, it might not undo your karmic backlog at all.
Hmm. So you still recommend to do that dosha parihar and all that, is it?
So I have not done it for many of the, or I have not seen what impacts it make on the people. So I cannot recommend anything regarding that. So how impactful it
Okay.
is, if, uh, uh, if you ask me, even I'm quite uncertain about it.
Okay.
See, because there are something that pundits and astrologers say, but if you consider my experience with it, uh, I don't have any opinion that it makes an impact or it doesn't make an impact. I'm quite neutral with that because I have never felt that what would be the implication that if a person do so and so puja or dosh nivaran, what would be the impact?
Okay.
So, any more questions for today? Should we wrap up?
Thanks, Ankit. I mean, to for this the session to an earlier time. It's a bit convenient now for me to attend.
Okay. Yeah. So, even I was thinking of that. Just so if somebody interested to join the session, so I should make it more convenient for people who can, so that all the people can join. So, keeping that in mind, I scheduled it a bit earlier.
Thanks.
Okay. So, uh, I think there are no more questions, and we are good to wrap up then. So, thanks everyone for joining.